Hi everyone, I just wanted to come on quickly to expand a little on the role of Saturn in this very important Saturn-Neptune conjunction that is already operational as I record this in May. Now, I've already filmed a video about the Saturn-Neptune conjunction. I'll put the link for that below because this is really important, but of course I'll be adding to that all the time. Over the next couple of years, as will every other astrologer. But Saturn often gets a bad rap, and so I wanted to explain a little more fully and dive a little deeper into the role I think that Saturn is playing in this conjunction. And I want to use the analogy here of the caterpillar to the butterfly. And it's what I talked about a lot last year with my video about metamorphosis for humanity and the big picture, and other astrologers, of course, and other people in general are using that analogy because it's so appropriate for where humanity is at. But I want to talk about some cells within the caterpillar that are there right at the beginning of the caterpillar's life, and these are called imaginal cells, imaginal. And these are the cells that turn eventually into the butterfly, or force the evolutionary leap into the butterfly. But they are dormant. They're dormant within the caterpillar until that time capsule within the caterpillar is activated and the butterfly cells start to multiply. Now, the butterfly cells, the imaginal cells, are so different from the caterpillar cells that the caterpillar cells try to destroy them. They try to eat them. But the butterfly cells keep on multiplying. And eventually the old shell of the caterpillar just can't destroy them quickly enough. But the resistance of the caterpillar to this multiplication of the imaginal butterfly cells actually strengthens the evolutionary impulse to turn into a butterfly. It strengthens the evolutionary purpose of these cells. And so eventually these single cells of the imaginal cells of the butterfly start to go beyond just being single cells and clump together in groups or communities. Now, I just want to back up a little because think what Saturn means. Saturn means blockage, delay, resistance. It's linked to control, top-down rules and regulations, the old order, not wanting things to change, the traditional structure, etc. It also rules things like our skeletons, our teeth, our bones, that kind of thing. And also think how powerful Saturn has been over the last 5 years, because you may remember back on the 12th of January 2020, we had a very, very important conjunction between Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn, the sign that Saturn rules. And whenever Pluto comes to conjunct another planet, it intensifies the nature of that planet. So in January 2020, Pluto was very much intensifying the top-down control limitation archetype of Saturn. So it's very interesting that on March 22nd, Saturn at that time moved into Aquarius, the sign of freedom, and it was one day later that most of the world went into lockdown. There was a limitation on freedom. So would you say over the last 5 years that that experience has acted as a catalyst for humanity's evolution? Just ask yourself that question, that resistance, that limitation, has that acted as a catalyst for humanity's evolution? Or would it have happened as quickly if we'd just gone on same old routine? I know how I would answer that question. So the butterfly cells continue, with the help of the resistance of the caterpillar cells trying to block them and destroy them, to multiply very rapidly until they reach a tipping point. And once they reach that tipping point, there's so many more butterfly cells than caterpillar cells that there's no going back. This is a one-way evolutionary process. And at that point, the the shell of the caterpillar, the exoskeleton, think Saturn, exoskeleton, cracks, and the caterpillar actually eats that up because the exoskeleton of the caterpillar is too small, too tight, too limited, Saturn, for the evolutionary leap into the butterfly. It's too constrained. And so the butterfly cells, having come together in community, start to operate as one organism, as this old exoskeleton collapses, cracks, is destroyed. And this larger organism starts to operate as quite a complex organism, with each cell having a particular function of the wings or the legs or the eyes of the butterfly, whatever, but each cell also retaining its unique essence. And that is really very much about Aquarian energy, because with Aquarius, we each have a clearer view of our individual unique essence, but we're contributing to the community, we're contributing to the whole. And Aquarius is very much about freedom. And what is the butterfly going to discover? It's going to discover freedom to be able to fly from flower to flower after all the limitations of living as a caterpillar. So I think this really understanding the biological process of the caterpillar and the metamorphosis really helps to understand the role of Saturn in this conjunction to Neptune. I think it's really clear because we are experiencing resistance and blocks from the old order, and will continue to do so. But think of how it strengthens our grit and resolve to continue to make this evolutionary leap. And yes, we're past the tipping point. And yes, this is a one-way process. We are on our way to becoming the butterfly. So if you see this as energy, you see this as destiny, and you see this as the evolutionary impulse, then nothing, becomes unstoppable. Now, what emphasizes the role of Saturn here, of course, is that on the 24th of May, it enters not only Aries, the first degree of the zodiac, but 0 of Aries, the very first degree, the creator degree. And so that really emphasizes, whole new beginnings, whole new episode for humanity. And it joins Neptune at that point, exact to the degree in July, exact to the minute next February. So the fact that it is so highlighted on that very first degree is adding to all I've said here about this very important new beginning for humanity. And it's very interesting as well that what I've been talking about with this complex organism forming from the imaginal butterfly cells within the caterpillar is very linked to the Aquarian energy, community, etc. Linked to the Aquarian energy. Pluto stays in Aquarius until 2044 and will be sextile Saturn for about the next year, and will be sextile Neptune in those early degrees of Aries for the next 3 years, for sure. And this is such a powerful evolutionary process. I mean, in the next 13 months, pretty much, we are going to see such incredibly powerful and concentrated astrology. So apart from what I've spoken about in this short video today, with Saturn moving into Aries on the 24th of May, cardinal the world axis, we also have Jupiter on the 9th of June, moving into Cancer on the world axis, squaring Saturn, Neptune. In July, on the 7th of July, we have Uranus changing sign, moving into Gemini. So, for instance, if we look at August, we can see that Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto are all within the first 2 degrees of their signs. Boy, is that a big shout out for a new beginning. I mean, it's just so clear. And what seemed appropriate here is really to close with a quote you will know, I'm sure. And I've used it once in the past, but it's such a beautiful quote. It's one of my all-time favorites, and I think it's very relevant for this metamorphosis of the caterpillar to the butterfly, the imaginal cells, the role of Saturn in fear and anxiety and pulling back and no, we've got to stay where we are because it's too scary to move forwards. All of those Saturnian aspects of its symbolism. And this is the very famous poem from Guillaume Apollinaire. Come to the edge, he said. We can't, they said. We're afraid, Saturn. Come to the edge, he said. We can't, we'll fall, Saturn. Come to the edge, he said. And so they came, and he pushed them, and they flew. They became the butterfly. Super powerful times, everyone, that we're in. And I just really wanted to take this opportunity to clarify the very positive role that Saturn has in strengthening and giving resolve to this evolutionary impulse. It's very purposeful and it's very beneficial when you see it in that light. God bless. Hope that's helped. Back very soon with another astrological update. Bye for now.